Let's talk about how we can use Alteryx and Snowflake to aid in data management. So every company is increasingly gaining access to more and more data. It's coming from different systems, different departments, and various environments, and many other places. But with all this additional information and data, there's a lot more complexity involved in our data processes. For example, we need to store this information, but traditional databases can take a long time to set up. The queries run really slow, and they use a lot of system resources. Additionally, databases require continuous management, and they're difficult to scale as we get more and more data in. Cloud databases are a good alternative solution because they are more agile. However, reading and writing data can still be really slow across virtual environments. Snowflake is a great solution. It allows us to quickly create databases and have essentially unlimited scalability. The process of creating databases and data tables and setting up this structure only takes a couple of minutes, and then we can scale it as needed to improve our query performance. With Alteryx, we can load data into Snowflake or other database and utilize bulk loading functionality to handle large amounts of data. With the in-databases tools, we can even query, blend, or analyze data without ever having to move it out of our database. So with this approach, we utilize cloud processing power without ever having to stream our data in and out of different platforms. So the use of both Alteryx and Snowflake provides us the ability to build and deploy our analytics faster. We could even bring in other BI tools, other systems, or platforms to enrich our analysis, and then our entire end-to-end process is readily available and easy to execute. So with that, let's take a look at how easy it is to connect Alteryx and Snowflake, and then we'll look at an example that shows the increased efficiency we get by using these two platforms together.
In order to integrate Alteryx and Snowflake, we need to set up an ODBC connection. To do that, we're going to start by logging into our Snowflake web server. Then we're going to go to Help, Download, ODBC driver, Snowflake repository. From here, we can choose the download that corresponds to our operating system, and then select the version of the driver download we want to access. So once we go ahead and download this, once it's finished, we'll hop into Alteryx to finish setting up the connection. Now within Alteryx, we're going to add an input data tool to our blank canvas. From the connect to a file or database, we're going to select the dropdown, go to our data sources, and find Snowflake ODBC. This will prompt us to set up a connection and pass our username and password. If we don't have this pre-configured, we have to go to our ODBC admin. We'll select Add. And in this list, we should be able to see our Snowflake driver we just downloaded. So we'll select that and hit Finish. And now we need to set up the configuration details. We're going to input our data source. This will be the name of the connection, our username and password used to access our Snowflake server. Then we need the Snowflake server, which is the URL corresponding to our web hosted Snowflake server. And then the last piece is our warehouse. And this, if you're using the Snowflake free trial, by default, there's a warehouse called Compute Warehouse created, and that's what we'll be passing to set up this configuration. Once we finish inputting those fields, we can hit OK, and then OK in that pop-up as well. And now we just pass our username and password in order to actually import data to this Alteryx workflow. As soon as we provide the username and password and select OK, we'll be prompted with a query builder to select what data to import into our Alteryx workflow.
Let's look at an example of how we can use Alteryx and Snowflake to really reduce our data processing time. So we're going to look at two different approaches. This first one on my screen now is kind of the traditional approach, where we're reading in our data, manipulating it, cleansing it, and then blending it so that once we're outputting to our database, everything's clean and tidy. We can see here that this workflow took about 8 minutes to run. And here we're working with about 100,000 records from our primary data source. So this is indicating that it's really great for small data sets, but as we're getting larger and larger data sets, this time is really going to compound and affect how fast we're getting our results, and then it's also taxing on our system. So we want to look at an alternative method that allows us to expedite and get more efficiency out of this process. For our second approach, what we're going to do instead is take all our raw data and directly upload it into Snowflake. Here we're using Alteryx's pre-configured bulk uploading capability to quickly export that data and upload it to Snowflake. And so here, this upload process took about 22 seconds. Then once everything's in our database, we can use Alteryx's in-database tools to connect directly to our data and perform those data queries and transformations by taking advantage of Snowflake's processing speed and performance in order to run this faster. So we're using Snowflake to run the same manipulation, blending, and cleansing steps to create a new table, but we're using the scalability to really reduce load times. And we can see that reflected in the runtime that it took about 4.6 seconds. So our cumulative end-to-end process that in the first instance took 8 minutes is now taking about 30 seconds total time. This means we're streamlining our process, we're getting our data and our results available to the end users faster. So if we're feeding this data into a BI tool or another visualization tool or some kind of report, that end user is getting the results sooner, they're getting their valuable insights faster, and it's improving and speeding up all their other processes that may be affected from this data. So overall, we've used Alteryx to use bulk loading, data queries, and data transformations in order to reduce the time spent processing our data and streamline and reduce our entire process and get a lot of efficiency out of it. And that's how we can use these two tools to really improve our data practices. Thank you for watching.